Most fans look at Rudo's introduction and immediately focus on the obvious stuff. He's poor, he's angry, he's treated unfairly, he gets framed for murder and thrown into the pit. That's what everyone remembers, but when you go back and really pay attention to those opening scenes, Gachi Akuta is actually telling us something much bigger about who Rudo is as a person. The series isn't introducing a future hero, it's introducing someone who sees value where everyone else sees garbage. That idea is literally the foundation of the entire story. One of the first things we learn about Rudo is that he's constantly digging through trash. Most shonen protagonists get introduced doing something cool or powerful. Rudo gets introduced collecting discarded objects. At first, it almost looks like he's trying to survive, but that's not really what's happening. Rudo gets genuinely upset when he sees useful things thrown away. He repairs items, cleans them up, and gives them a second life. Everyone else sees junk, Rudo sees potential. That personality trait ends up becoming one of the biggest themes in the entire series. The really clever part is that Gachi Yakuza immediately connects objects and people together. The rich spirites throw away anything they don't want anymore. Broken items get tossed aside. Unwanted people get tossed aside too. The tribe folks are looked down on simply because they're descendants of criminals. Rudo himself is hated because of his father's reputation. Before the story even reaches the pit, the series is already showing us that society treats human beings, exactly like it treats trash. Then there's Recto. Most people remember him as a tragic father figure who dies in episode 1, but his role is way more important than that. Recto understands Rudo better than anyone else. He recognizes that Rudo's obsession with trash isn't actually about trash at all. It's about seeing worth in things that other people overlook. He teaches Rudo to respect objects and treat them carefully. Looking back, those lessons weren't random life advice, they were preparing Rudo for the entire journey ahead. Another detail fans often miss is how much anger Rudo already has before Recto dies. The murder doesn't create his rage, it unleashes it. Throughout the introduction, we constantly see him getting mocked, judged, and treated like he's destined to become a criminal. People look at his scars, people talk about his father, people assume the worst about him. And by the time he's accused of killing Recto, the world has basically spent years telling Rudo he's trash. The tragedy just pushes him over the edge. That's why the execution scene hits so hard. When Shiva rejects him, when the crowd turns on him, and when nobody believes his innocence, Rudo finally realizes that the people around him aren't interested in the truth. They already decided what he was long ago. The series isn't showing the birth of a hero in that moment, it's showing the complete destruction of the kid's faith in society. His famous scream about killing everyone isn't just revenge for Recto, it's years of frustration exploding all at once. That's what Rudo's introduction was really telling us. It wasn't saying, here's the strongest future fighter. It was saying, here's someone who understands value better than everyone else. The irony is that the entire world treats people like disposable garbage, while Rudo is the one character who refuses to do that. Long before he becomes stronger, meets Engine, joins the cleaners, or unlocks his powers, Gachi Akuta already tells us exactly why he's special. Everyone else throws things away. Rudo never does. And that single difference ends up defining his entire story. What's really interesting is how the pit itself reinforces everything the introduction was trying to tell us. Think about it. The people living in the sphere literally throw their garbage into the abyss without caring what happens to it. Then Rudo gets thrown down there too. The symbolism couldn't be more obvious once you notice it. Society didn't just throw away objects, it threw away Rudo as well. And then what happens? He survives. That's important because Gachi Yakuta immediately challenges the belief that something has no value just because someone else decided it doesn't. The people above believed everything sent to the pit was gone forever, worthless, finished. But the story proves they were wrong. Not only does Rudo survive, but an entire world exists down there, beyond what anyone on the surface understands. Even Engin's introduction builds on this idea. When Engine first meets Rudo, he doesn't see some chosen one. He sees a furious kid who has absolutely no idea what he's doing. But unlike the people in the sphere, Engine doesn't instantly judge him and throw him aside. He gives him a chance. That's something Rudo almost never received growing up. Then you have Rudo's first encounters with the giant trash beast. Most fans focus on the action, but those scenes are showing him something important. The trash isn't dead. The things people discarded still have power. The garbage the spirit threw away literally became monsters. In a weird way, it's another example of consequences coming back to haunt society. What's funny is that Rudo spends almost the entire beginning of the story trying to prove everyone wrong. He wants revenge, he wants justice, he wants answers. But underneath all of that, he's constantly proving the philosophy he believed in from the very start. Every time he repairs something, protects someone, or refuses to abandon a person, he's acting differently than the world that abandoned him. You can even see this with other cleaners. A lot of them are damaged people. Some are weird, some are reckless, some are difficult to get along with, but instead of throwing each other away, they work together. Looking back, the organization almost feels like the opposite of the spear. They're built around finding value in people rather than status. That's why Rudo's relationship with Zonka is so interesting. Their first meeting is basically a disaster. They can't stand each other. Zonka thinks Rudo is reckless and annoying. Rudo thinks Zonka is arrogant and impossible to deal with. But over time, they slowly develop respect for one another. Once again, the story is taking people who initially seem incompatible and showing there's more beneath the surface. The same thing happens with Rio. At first glance, she's easy to underestimate because of her personality. Then you see how effective she is in combat and how valuable she is to the team. Gachi Akuta constantly introduces characters one way and then reveals there is much more going on underneath. That's exactly what happened with Rudo from Chapter 1. Another thing fans miss is how often the series connects souls to objects. Regto talked about treasured possessions carrying meaning. Rudo believed objects deserve respect. Then later, we learn about powers that are literally tied to cherished items. Suddenly, those early conversations don't feel like world building anymore. They feel like foreshadowing that was sitting right in front of us the entire time. That's one of the reasons Rudo's gloves are so important. Early on, they just seem like a memorable part of his design, but they represent Recto. They represent the life Rudo lost. They represent the person who believed in him when nobody else did. Every time Rudo uses them, the story is reminding us where his journey started. The introduction also quietly tells us what separates Rudo from a lot of revenge-driven protagonists. Most revenge characters slowly lose their humanity as their anger grows. Rudo gets angry, sure, really angry, but he never completely loses the ability to care about people. Even after everything that happened to him, he still forms connections, he still protects others, he still values life. And honestly, that's probably the biggest clue hidden in his introduction. The world spends episode 1 trying to convince us that Rudo is becoming a monster. The citizens fear him, the authorities condemn him, the crowd wants him punished. Everything is framed as if the kid is dangerous, but the audience eventually learns the opposite is true. The real monsters were the people who decided human beings could be thrown away in the first place. Rudo's introduction wasn't warning us about him, it was warning us about the world he lived in. And once you realize that, those opening chapters become way more powerful than most fans give them credit for.